welcome to Grounded with John Tester and Maritza Giorgio.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Kind of on the road in a different time zone. It's mid-morning where I'm at.
Oh, hold on. I got a bad thing where I do this. Okay, there. It's early where I am, okay? It's
All right,
early. You're
might
on
even
the
be
East.
might even be earlier on the West Coast. I mean,
It is earlier on the West Coast. It's even earlier in Hawaii. Hey, where are you? What are you doing?
I'm in uh, I'm in Washington D.C. I uh, I had some meetings and a couple of fundraisers that I went to, not for me but for other people, and it's good. Plus,
All
I
right.
get to talk to you on a podcast. So what the heck?
On a Tuesday. Okay, so yeah, the senator's traveling and his schedule, you guys, is so um
Weird.
really meticulously crafted in a notebook that he leaves at home most of the time. And so I wasn't fully clear on when we could have a podcast. So then I found out yesterday and I thought, okay. And I tried to get a guest and it just didn't work out. So you just have us today, drinking some coffee, talking some headlines. You're stuck with us. But later this week, we're going to talk with civil rights activist Maya Wiley. And we have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about with her. So I failed today. We do have a lot of headlines to talk about.
Yes, we do. A lot.
Sorry, I failed you. All right, anything you wanna talk about before we jump in?
No, not I mean, yeah, there's a lot, but you're gonna bring most of it up anyway. I mean,
Okay.
look, let's start out by saying the Spurs won last night and made a series out of the NBA Finals, which is good. Hopefully, they can continue to play well
So
'cause,
you're going for the Spurs. I think this is kind of a hot take.
yeah, well, look, uh, I think, they're a young team that's very talented, and, they're fun to watch. So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, nothing
We
wrong
are
with the
gonna talk
Knicks.
about that game a
Knicks
little
are
bit.
fine. They're fine, but, the Spurs are a little, I like them more, so that's
I
good.
think my algorithm is showing me all the people who love the Knicks because people like Mariska Hargitay, who I love. She's a big Knicks fan. She's always at the games. We wanna say good morning. Sandy saying good morning from Anaconda. Good morning, Sandy.
Anaconda.
Anaconda,
Yeah,
as, your former team would say. Okay, let's talk about some headlines. It
yeah.
is the 102nd day of the war with Iran, and overnight, a US military helicopter actually, was downed near the Strait of Hormuz. Its 2 crew members were rescued by a drone boat, essentially, an unmanned vessel. This is a first for American forces. Meanwhile, the president continues to repeat his claims that a deal is just days away. It's just days away. This is after Iran and Israel traded more direct attacks, and then Israel launched new strikes in Lebanon today. You buy that this is days away, Senator?
Hope so. It'd be nice. I mean, I think he's, probably playing the market more than he is reality, but that's okay, the reality of the markets. No, it's not okay, actually.
You mean
Th
you're
this
trying to bring
this
prices
yeah.
down?
Well, or bring prices down or make his investments go up. I don't know which one's the truth. But the fact is it's a quagmire. It's a situation where the opportunity to make this better than it was before we spent $1 billion a day fighting a war in Iran is slim. But I wish the president the best, and I mean that, in negotiating an end to this and making it so Iran is less powerful today than they were 103 days ago. But we will see.
Yeah, there's a lot of question about, like, what we've actually accomplished, and, I don't have to tell you gas prices are still high. I mean, I'm seeing now I was looking at some airline tickets yesterday, and, I mean, the prices are just they're skyrocketing. And the American people cannot sustain this. I mean, this is between the gas prices, grocery prices. I was at our favorite store, Costco, the other day. Even prices there. I mean, things that I buy every week just shooting up. So, something that I hope is resolved soon as well. We have some people in the comments agreeing with you, saying "Go Spurs." We'll get to that in a little bit, and we have some folks watching from Bozeman and Helena. So, hey guys, thanks for joining us. And also from I should just Washington State. All right. California. Hey, people are waking up early with us. Okay. Uh, Next headline. It is primary day in Maine, Nevada, and North Dakota. Hard to believe that our primary in Montana was just a week ago. A lot's happened since then. Of course, we're watching to see what happens in Maine with Graham Plattner. He's had some really negative headlines about some alleged volatile and unsettling past behavior with girlfriends. Of course, this is the Democratic candidate there who's running for Senate. He wants to be the nominee against incumbent Susan Collins. What's interesting, though, is Governor Janet Mills. She dropped out of the race weeks ago, but I think her name is still on the
Yeah,
official ballot.
it is.
So, and then, we had big primaries in Montana last week, other states too. Like, this is kind of a wild primary season. Does it feel wild to you?
Well, I think there's a lot of primaries, and I don't know if it's more than a normal off year presidential or not, but no, it is pretty wild. And look, I don't think there's any whether Mills is still on the ballot or not. I think Plattner is going to win that, and then he's got to figure out some way to make it so he appeals to voters out there. I have never met Graham Plattner, but the people who have say that he's very, very good at messaging, and so that will be tested moving forward between now and the general against Susan Collins. So it's going to be interesting. But as you said, there's a lot of primaries out there. There's going to be a lot of really interesting races. I mean, last week we saw in Iowa uh, gentlemen who we've had on this show very, very
Josh
early
Turek.
on.
Yeah.
Josh Turek win. I think Iowa's in play this cycle in a big, big way.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of issues out there, whether it's healthcare or food or costs or whatever it might be, that can play to Turek's advantage if he uses them, uses those issues in a way that will make a difference to the voters. But that's just one of many. I mean, everybody talks about North Carolina, they talk about Maine, they talk about Ohio. Alaska's in the play here in a big, big way.
How about Montana 1? Because that's the dark horse race that Jim Messina said, and we have our Democratic nominee in Montana 1 in, Sam Forstag, the smoke jumper firefighter from Missoula.
Yeah, and look, I think that is gonna be a very interesting race. I think that the Republicans are gonna try to paint him as something that he's not, and they're very good at that, by the way. But Forstag's out there, and lets people know who he is. Let's know people what he stands for and what he will do when he gets elected to Congress. I think that it's a race that he can win. We'll
That's
see.
a really hard thing, and with AI and more social media than ever, I mean, there's just so many attack ads, so many claims about so many people, and yes, some are real, some are legit, and some are very much not, and it's very hard, um, to discern in a lot of times. So, I feel like this is a wild primary season, but I don't know if that's just because I'm exhausted or haven't had enough coffee.
Or too early in the morning.
Or
Look, I think there's a lot of hotly contested primaries out there. I think that's, by the way, good for the country and good for the folks who the electorates. And so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the general. If you take a look at the elections that have happened between November 24 and today, there's been about a 14, 15-point swing in many of these districts that went for Trump. And so I think it brings a lot of seats into play that wouldn't normally be in play, that good candidates will be able to win. And we'll see.
this is interesting. Herman in the chat says, "If Plattner withdraws, there's still time to replace him with someone who can win. He's afraid he might hurt the Dems' chances." Um, yeah, I mean, this is one of these things, right? Like that's the concern is what does this look like in a general election? But let's not forget, it is a rough election cycle, not in the primaries, but I think it's going to be a rough general election cycle for people who've aligned with the president. And I'm not going to say Susan Collins has done that because she's been one of the opposing voices consistently, but she also does come to his rescue sometimes. So we'll see how it all plays out.
The,
But yeah,
the, I think the issue of Plattner, uh, basically he's calling it quits and throwing in the towel. I don't. This is my opinion, and I am not a political guru in any stretch of the imagination. and then being replaced by somebody who isn't in the race who could possibly win. I think it's tough to do that. I really
Yeah,
do think it's hard to do that. I mean, that's something similar that happened in the presidential in 24, where Biden
that's what I
stepped
was
back,
thinking.
somebody else went in, and it could be argued at the time. It was argued, well, there's not as much time to try to make them into something they're not. But in the end, I think it cost us an opportunity to win the presidency. I'm talking we, the Democrats, win the presidency of the U.S. And I think it's a problem when somebody drops out and puts somebody in. It may look easy, but boy, it sure didn't work out in 24 very well.
Yeah, I remember going through the roller coaster of that, like, "Oh, this is gonna be really tough. Oh, but actually they're seizing a lot of opportunities. Oh, but this is really tough." So it's, yeah, I mean, we're just in a wild time politically, folks. I think that that's really kind of the headline. We're in a
Yeah,
wild time. But as someone saying the reason that our primaries feel wild is that because there are so many, exceptional, viable candidates, and that's
that's
right.
true.
Yeah,
That's
that's
true.
right.
I mean, you
So
take a
thank
look at
you.
the
That's from Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Thank you for that.
she's right, and you take a look at we're from Montana, so we're going to talk about it, but that Western District race in Montana, there are four good candidates, and somebody, three of them had to lose, and one of them had to win. And
That's right.
so that you're exactly right. There are a lot of really good candidates, and some of those really good candidates may come in second, because there was also another really good candidate running against them. So it's pretty
Well,
cool. It's good.
someone has to come in second. I'm gonna skip ahead because we're still talking about elections. So, actually, I'm gonna stick with this. Sorry, I'm disorganized today. There was a spicy Meet the Press interview this weekend with the president. Did you watch it?
Watch parts of it. I didn't watch the whole thing.
Okay. So he continually defended January 6th rioters throughout that. He said that they were destroyed by dirty cops and that they should be compensated when asked about that $1.776 billion slush fund. I thought of you right when I heard this because he said that farmers love him because he gave them $28 billion and that they've never had a payday like that. I'm sure you have some thoughts about that.
Well, I want to talk about the January 6th first.
Okay.
Of course, he's going to be for him. He instructed him to go down and try to overthrow the government. Truthfully, you can say it any other way you want, but he went in there, told him to go get the vice president because he was a dirty, rotten rascal, and they came in, they ran into the Capitol, they broke windows, they tore things up, they beat the shit out of cops. And in the end, of course, he's going to say, yeah, he directed him to do it. He's the reason why that happened. And for those folks that wrap themselves in the flag and say the Constitution is an incredible document, and you support the January 6th folks, you are in direct opposition of yourself. And so that's number one. So it's not surprising he would say, we want to take $1.776 billion of taxpayer money and give the people who tried to make sure the election didn't happen. He gave them pardons already. Now we want to cut them a check. That's number one. Number two, I don't want to break this to the president, but that $28 billion he gave to farmers, two things. Number one, it wasn't his money and he acted like it was. It was taxpayer dollars. It added to our debt $28 billion. And number two, it was given because of really, really bad policy coming out of the White House, his policy on tariffs that caused input costs to go up and markets to go down and farmers to go broke if they wouldn't be bailed out by the federal American taxpayer. And so it's absolutely ridiculous. And to think that, many, many years ago, I had an attorney that told me that you don't appreciate free money. And he was absolutely right. And free money is not how we need to make the books balance in production agriculture in this country. We need to have markets that work so that farmers get their paycheck from the marketplace, not from Washington, D.C. And unfortunately, in today's time, when only 5% of the people in production ag are making money, and damn near every one of those are the really, really, really big guys. And without those subsidies, it'd be far less than that. We're in a situation where we have a system. right now that's not sustainable. It is not sustainable for people who are in production agriculture. And if they're honest with themselves, they will know that. And what I mean by not sustainable, we're seeing bankruptcies, record numbers, I think the highest number since 1983. And that ain't going to end soon with the price of diesel fuel at five and a half a gallon, fertilizer costs going through the roof, markets that aren't don't exist anymore because of this stupid damn trade war that was put forth unnecessarily that we didn't get any advantages of. Ring a bell. Reminds me of Iran. We go into Iran. Is the system better than it was before? I would love to hear the person say that it's better now than it was 103 days ago. And I would love to see a farmer say, our markets are better today than when Biden left office, because they're not.
That's the kind of I mean, so this interview was done on a farm in Wisconsin, and I would love to see video of him actually just talking to farmers. Like, actually just sitting down and having real conversations with farmers, not plants, not people that they brought into the White House, but actually real people. Because I don't know a lot about farming. Everything I know about farming has come from you, Senator.
Oh boy,
But
you're warped. What can I say?
yeah, but I do know that to make this out to be some kind of windfall, like, they've never had a payday like this. It's ridiculous because if they didn't have that money, they would more farms would be going bankrupt.
And by the way, it wasn't his money. It was
Right,
taxpayer dollars.
right.
It's our kids' money, by the way, because we spend $60 million on a fighting loop over here at the White House where they're gonna have cage fighters come in and fight. $60 million taxpayer money. The big Taj Mahal that he's building that was supposed to be paid for by donations. Once again, Congress passed close to $1 billion, if not $1 billion, to build that. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Where the hell are the conservatives in this country that actually are concerned about the debt? And said it before, where are those debt clocks that were in Republican senators' offices when Biden was president and Obama was president? This mysteriously went away in the first Trump administration and aren't there today.
Hey, you're in DC. Can you run up to the Hill and just record with your phone and say, "Hey, I would just wanna see your debt clock." Just walk
Yeah,
through the halls. I would love to see that video. We'll make you go viral.
yeah, you know what? Okay, but I
Okay.
don't. Next trip, how's that? Next trip.
Oh, okay. Next trip. Chris in the chat says, Good morning." And he has a friend who lives in Kansas who says, in Trump country, there isn't a single person now with any to say anything good about him. Yeah, I've noticed that too driving around. I mean, I see way less signs, way less
Yeah,
signs.
but I'm going to tell you, I don't think we should underestimate the fact that he has what rural America voted for him in mass. And with the farm policies and with the healthcare policies, they've taken it in the shorts really, really bad with this president. But I don't, I don't think you can assume that they're going to vote for somebody else besides Trump or vote for a Democrat over a Republican. They voted Republican so much that I think they will continue, even though the very people that they've been voting for have been putting the boots to them.
We got to go
And
out.
take away those subsidies. Take away those subsidies, and if there's any farmers watching this, take away those subsidies, then ask yourself, would I still be in business? Not only just the last one, but the subsidies before that. And then ask yourself, if this was some other business, if this was a Main Street business that only could exist because they had federal government subsidies, would you be clapping your hands in favor of it? And most farmers want to get their check from the marketplace. So for the president to say, "Yeah, big payday, I gave him a bunch of money," really out of touch with reality.
Okay, so those are two issues. But here's the thing: it got really, really tense. This interview with Kristen Welker, a wonderful journalist, host of Meet the Press, when he started talking about elections in California. So let's play that.
It's appropriate that they have an election and 5 days later, they're nowhere close to picking a
State and
winner.
local officials acknowledge they are slow. They're urging
No, they're crooked.
they're urging the
crooked.
votes to be counted quickly. That's how they vote
They're
in
crooked,
California.
just like you're crooked. Your press is crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked.
To be fair, I'm not crooked, but
Really?
let's
Well, you
continue.
play right into their hands. Then.
Let's continue.
You're either crooked or you're stupid.
Let's
You play
continue.
right into their hands with this rep. You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide. and I got 94% bad press.
But Mr. President,
You know why I
you've
got
never
that?
presented
Because you have no
evidence.
credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about. I want to talk about Todd.
You have
Blanche.
more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
Your
about
elections
you
in
went
this
to
country,
court.
we're like a third world country.
But sir,
Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and
Mis-
Meet the Press is
but
crooked,
Mr.
and so
President,
is ABC and CBS and CNN.
but Mr.
You're
President,
one-sided crooked network. So let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Mr. President, let's please. I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
I've
I
sat in the rain with
all.
you.
I know.
I've
I
sat in the
traveled
rain
all the
with
way
you
to
for an hour.
Wisconsin.
On and off in the rain, and I've given you enough time. You ought to straighten out your press because you know what?
Mr.
A
President,
country can never be
we
great
traveled
with a
all.
dishonest
Listen,
press.
we
Come on, let's
traveled
go.
all the way to Wisconsin for.
Okay. So he storms out, steps on the microphone, leaves. I mean, Kristen Welker is one of those people. I've met her a few times. She actually saved me one day. When I was just a baby reporter in DC, and she was so kind to me, but she held her composure. I don't know how I would have dealt with that. But he continues to say these elections are rigged, Senator. He won. The Republicans have the majority in both houses, in both chambers. How does he win if he's gonna? How do you win and also say that these elections are rigged?
Because he does. I mean, I don't. There's two things here that's particularly bothersome to me. Number one, you're right to say the elections are rigged, because to be honest with you, the votes were counted in 2020, and he still thinks he won. You know, and the
How many
same thing in
How many
24.
courts?
Yeah, how many courts said that? And so the elections are rigged is kind of like a involuntary response. He just says it, and there's never been any evidence to show that. None. But he's going to work on it. That's why he's got a $1.776 billion fund to pay all those people who stormed the Capitol, so that when he calls them out on election day of this next year, they'll be more than willing to go out and do their thing. That's number one. Number two, our country is a great country. It has fallen in the last year and a half, in my opinion. And part of it has to do with the president who does not think that the press is important for democracy. We're going to probably get to Scott Pelley before this
Yeah, we will.
this podcast's over with. But the truth is, you can't have a democracy without journalism, and that's a fact. For him to have such disregard, and it happened in the first election where he put press people in cages. You were one of them, and now to just badmouth with no facts whatsoever. You know, and we can talk about what happened in Minnesota and the president's take on video that I saw with my own eyes, or we can talk about what goes on every single day in this administration where he's removed from reality. And there's nobody in his cabinet, because he put them all in because they would rubber stamp everything he's done. And unfortunately, there's really nobody in Congress. There's a few Republicans that are standing up, Tillis among the best, but very few. And they know better. But they continue to rubber stamp things that he does and things that he says that absolutely should not be rubber stamped.
Let's not forget too that he just installed the businessman and director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, Bill Pulte, as the interim lead of as DNI, Director of National Intelligence, after Tulsi Gabbard left. I mean, and he's indicated. We saw Tulsi Gabbard in Georgia when they were collecting all of the voter information from 2020. And he's indicated that he thinks this is a national security thing, and I'm watching that one very closely.
Yeah, I guess it's, unless every Republican wins in every district, it's a crooked election. I mean, it's so contrary to the forefathers, I've got to tell you, and yet people still look at him and go, "Oh my God, look how great he is!" You know, it's just unbelievable.
So that whole meltdown happened in Wisconsin with Kristen Welker before we learned that LA City Council member Nithya Raman moved ahead of reality TV star Spencer Pratt in the LA mayoral race. So she will now go on to face incumbent Mayor Karen Bass in November. But let's put up what Donald Trump said about that, because he said it's just not possible for Spencer Pratt to have lost the LA runoffs. Third world nation, rigged elections. Now they'll be working on great guy Steve Hilton, won't have results for 2 weeks. I mean, he's calling it a third world country?
Yeah, I mean, how do you respond to this stuff?
I know. Well, here, we'll just keep reading some tweets, true social posts. I thought of you when I saw this one because you've talked about the Senate parliamentarian before on this. He went after her on True Social, saying that the Senate Majority Leader should immediately fire the parliamentarian. And that she was put there by Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and Barack Obama. And he just goes on and on and on about how, she keeps ruling against his proposals and she needs to leave, and that she only caters to Democrats and she's a radical left lunatic. You know her, so I just thought I'd give you a chance to respond to that.
Yeah, she's done a lot of things over the years, my 18 years in there, because I think she was on the rostrum the whole time. She took over probably the last 8 or 10 years that I was in office as the parliamentarian. She did a lot of things that made me unhappy. But her job is to be the referee in the United States Senate and to call balls and strikes, and she does it. And she does it based on factual information. Sometimes those rulings I don't like, sometimes those rulings I'm okay with. But in Donald Trump's case, you got to have somebody who rules in favor of you every single time, or you're crooked or you're not doing your job. This whole administration, it's why states should be very, very worried. It's all top down. Does Congress count? Hell no, Congress doesn't count. I'll do everything I want to do, executive orders, what Donald Trump does, and he does. And he's got a court that, for the most part, has backed him up on all this stuff because they were appointed and confirmed, many of them appointed by him and confirmed by a Republican Senate. So for him to badmouth Harry Reid or John Thune or Chuck Schumer or Mitch McConnell is bullshit. Because the truth is they have a job to do and they need to do the job, and they're not doing their job very damn well right now. And he still bitches about it. So the parliamentarian, she's a good person. She's got a hell of a job to do. But if you don't rule in favor of Donald Trump every single time, then you're horrible, because God knows he never makes a mistake.
That's right. That's right. Never, not ever. I wonder if he's ever apologized for anything. That's an interesting question.
I don't know. He's got major issues, and the older he gets, the worse the issues become.
All right, let's talk about that next game, and then we're going to talk about Scott Pelley. The president became the first sitting president to go to an NBA Finals game last night. And it was pointed out by NBC News that this is the 17th sporting event of his second term that he's attended. And I saw this tweet from our friend, former Ambassador Mike McFall, also a Montana boy, who said, "Wow, must be nice to have such a chill job that lets you attend so many games. Wish I could." I thought that was pretty funny. So here's the deal. He did not get a warm welcome. I'm going to play this video as we kind of talk over it. So this is video of him arriving and everyone outside booing him, giving him the finger. He's waving from the motorcade. The boos didn't stop there. It happened again inside during the national anthem. It probably didn't help that his attendance of that game forced the cancellation of an annual watch party that's held outside of the arena because of security measures to get him inside. And booed loudly during the national anthem. And here's the part that I thought was very interesting, Senator. Steve Witkoff, the U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, was there at this game with him. And I just kept thinking about that time just a few weeks ago when the president said he couldn't go to his own son's wedding because of the war in Iran. But he and Steve Witkoff have time to go to the NBA Finals game.
Yeah, in the middle of a supposed peace negotiations. I mean, the cards don't really line up very well. Look, I'm going to give the president credit. I mean, for the president to go to a sporting event like a Knicks game, or it doesn't matter, Super Bowl, whatever it is, I think that's good politics. I really do. But
Okay.
I'll also tell you that he wasn't exactly met with a warm welcome, and I'm sure that he's got reasons that he thought they were probably cheering for him when they weren't, or the fact is that all these people are misled when the fact is they're upset because we've had some real bad policies come out of the White House. That's why they're upset. Increased costs when costs are supposed to drop down, price of fuel going through the roof, and healthcare harder and harder to get access to. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Look, I think in the end, Witkoff should not have been there. The president should be pushing Witkoff to be in the Middle East to do his job, whatever that job is. I hope it's negotiating a peace deal. But in the end, politically, I think it was a good thing to do. Um,
Really?
but oh yeah, sure for
Even
him,
with all the
yeah,
security nightmares?
that's the way it is everywhere if the president goes somewhere. I mean, it's a security nightmare.
Well,
And
we have someone in the chat saying that Dr. Eric says he posted yesterday that Obama, who loves basketball, we know he loves basketball, never went to a finals game
no, that's
because of
true.
a
That's
security
true.
nightmare.
That's true. But he did go to some other games, and I think he was still president when North Carolina played Duke, and he went to that game when Duke had the really 3 really, really good freshman players that at least 2 of them are still in the NBA now. But the bottom line is this: if the president didn't have time to go to his son's wedding, but has time to go to a sporting event, it shows you where his priorities are. And and I think family always needs to come first in my book, but it is what it is.
Okay, so, I was gonna talk about this UFC fight. There's supposed to be a UFC fight at the White House this weekend. There's a new lawsuit that's trying
In
to stop that.
in the 60 in that $60 million bubble that he built in the White House grounds.
Yeah,
By
yeah,
the way,
that
let me take that back. Wrong terminology. He didn't build it. The American taxpayer built it and paid for it. Okay?
I think that I think the UFC paid for the construction,
Really?
but here's where it gets a little muddy.
Well, that's
It
good.
was it there's a lawsuit challenging this, saying that this structure was built without authorization from Congress and without environmental review. It also says that using the White House grounds and this pre-event weigh-in spectacle at the Lincoln Memorial for a for-profit sporting event will benefit the UFC president and Trump donor Dana White, and also Trump himself, because there was a report this spring that the president bought $50,000 in stock in UFC's parent company. So, the thing is, there's always a kickback somewhere. There's always a kickback. And then this lawsuit says that the UFC is selling VIP packages for between like a million and $1.5 million bucks to attend this. So just so much financial gain. But I will say that these lawsuits, some of them continue to work because the president only has a few more days until he has to remove his name from the Kennedy Center. It was already removed from the website and other branding announcing new shows. So we'll see what this one does. I was watching something last night, and a legal expert was saying this lawsuit might not have the teeth that people think it does, but we'll see. He has to. The Trump administration is ordered to respond to this lawsuit by tonight. So.
Yeah, first of all, thank for setting the record straight. I wasn't aware that the UFC paid for the facility, and also thanks for setting the record straight on who's going to be making the big bucks. Look, the White House is a special place, and whether it's a car show with Teslas or whether it's a UFC fight, that's not what we should be expecting out of the president of the United States. You want to talk about third world country? That's third world country shit right there. So, it's I guess it's cool,
Here's
and
a thing that came up when I was with Miles Taylor and Xander Schultz on Defiance last week, is while they are building this for this huge event where they're selling tickets outdoors, it sits right next to the demolished East Wing that they're saying they need a ballroom for to hold secure events. But this is right outside. They're gonna continue to hold this event even though they've said they need this ballroom because they can't hold secure events. So a little bit of a contradicting statement here.
Yeah, look, you can say whatever reasons you want to have the ballroom, but the fact is the ballroom is being built because Trump wants a golden palace to be able to impress people with. That's just a fact.
Okay. I want to dedicate a little bit of time to Scott Pelley today. So I'm guessing if you regularly tune into our program, you know, because you follow the news, that CBS fired Scott Pelley after a heated staff meeting last week. I mean, it's hard to believe how much news has happened since we were last live on here. Pelley did a lengthy, emotional interview with the New York Times this weekend. It is something that I encourage you to listen to in its entirety. I'm going to listen to it again for a second time. I'm going to watch the video of it, but I listened this weekend. I sent it to Senator Tester and I told him, you got to listen to this whole thing. So I will play part of this, a little clip, and then we will talk about it.
Felt that somebody had to stand up for the broadcast, not just the broadcast, but the people. There are people in that room who go to war zones when they are pregnant. Newsrooms are sort of like the military or the police or the beautiful people at the FDNY down the street. It is a life-threatening job in many instances. And very strong bonds, very emotional bonds are found or are developed in that kind of setting. And to have people running CBS News who don't know that, have never felt that, and don't understand it is a tragedy I never expected to see.
So that was just one part. There's just a lot, a lot of content in there. There was another part when he talked about some editorial decisions or comments made about some of his stories in the past that almost actually cost 60 Minutes an entire episode because they pushed it past deadline, which you don't do, you can't do, because there were some suggested changes. He talked about Barry Weiss, um, basically asking him to make protesters look more violent in Minneapolis. And the other thing was that she wanted him to describe Renee Good, that mother in Minneapolis who was killed, that she wanted Scott Pelley to describe her as driving toward the officer that killed her. This is a very emotional interview. It's very worth your time. It kind of it's about 60 Minutes and Scott Pelley and what's happening at CBS, but it paints this broader picture of journalism in America right now. And I'll let you speak, Senator.
Well, first of all, I mean, I love sports. I like to watch basketball. I like to watch football. I like to watch baseball. 60 Minutes is the only show on TV that I will watch before I watch any of those sporting events, and did. In fact, Sunday night football, I usually got it about the second, halfway through the second quarter, because I watched 60 Minutes first. Why? Because they did ask tough questions, and it was a show that you could depend upon to be educational and interesting. Part of that had to do with, of course, their reporters. In fact, all of it had to do with their reporters, and Scott Pelley being the lead among them. This is a guy that's the same age as I am. And so he's been around my entire adult life, and just it was an amazing program. Now, there's a couple of things that he said in that interview that were particularly interesting to me. Number one, he said he had never had somebody from 60 Minutes management put their finger on the scale
Right.
on reporting. And by the way, that's the same thing that that the other ones said when they were
Aaron Alfonsi, yeah.
yeah, yep, and Cecilia Vega, right? They
Yeah.
all say the same thing. we've never had people put their finger on the scale to be able to warp the news so it fits something that they were trying to accomplish. And the other thing he said that was absolutely spot on is democracies don't exist without journalists. And I've got to tell you, for full disclosure, not a big Barry Weiss fan. I quit watching CBS. They can advertise. People can advertise on there all they want. It's a bunch of bullshit. What happened to Scott Pelley and the other reporters is a bunch of bullshit. When they had 60 Minutes had the show on the prison, then they preempted it because it wasn't the fingers weren't put on the scales to warp it a certain direction. We actually got to see that on Canadian TV.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's right.
that's the
Forgot about
direction. That's the direction this country's going. And this is making America great again? No, he wants to talk about elections in third world countries. This country is becoming a third world country with a dictator, with a king. And people should understand that it's changing in ways that's not for the better for our kids and our grandkids. And I went on a podcast yesterday with Chuck Todd. I don't know when it's going to air. You might know if it
I
hasn't.
need to ask. I forgot to ask.
And Chuck said that we brought up the Scott Pelley stuff, and Chuck said, "Hey, look, this is a prime example of a corporation trying to get in the good graces of the government so that they can consolidate." And he's right. That's what it's about. But that's not what press should be doing. They should be reporting the news in a factual way, asking tough questions. And you know what? If people in power don't like it, tough shit. It's their job, and they should be allowed to do it.
Well, and then in
And
the end of
and
that, go ahead.
well, in the end, it shouldn't be you're a terrible reporter and you're a terrible company and you're liars and you're miserable. Look, if you can't answer the tough questions, just admit it. Don't be a clown and try to embarrass the other people you're with. Uh, you know, I've seen people do this throughout my life where they get put on the spot and then they try to turn the tables to make it look like the person who's actually the honest person in the room
Yeah,
is the bad guy. It's a bunch of garbage.
called deflection.
Is that what it's called?
Some people
Deflection?
are very good at that.
Not reflection, deflection.
Deflection. And at the end, the interviewer Lulu read him some comments that the president made about Scott Pelley, basically saying he doesn't care about America, he hates America, and it became another emotional thing. He said, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically, listen, I've never worn the uniform, but I've been in combat. This is somebody who has traveled the world bringing us stories inside. Remember the one story that you and I talked about earlier? Gosh, it was the end of last year in Ukraine, and that was Scott Pelley's story. And it was all of these attacks happening where people are just being murdered on the street, just
Yep.
hit on the street. And I met him very shortly after we watched that and talked about it here in this program. And he received a Walter Cronkite Award last year. I was at that ceremony because I was on the jury, and I talked to him and I told him how much that kind of reporting means and how important it is for us to understand what's going on in the world. And it's part of why we're getting so many mixed signals right now about what's going on in Iran. We don't have embedded journalists. We don't,
Because they're not allowed. They're not
right.
allowed
I
by
mean,
the administration.
and this is somebody, not just Scott Pelley. I mean, he's kind of representative of this larger mass of journalists who have risked their lives, traveled the world, stayed away from their families to get the story so that we understand things better.
And
So that we
we can consume it in the safety of our own homes.
100%. So I have a feeling we'll see Scott Pelley on Substack. I'm working to get his information. I would love to have him on here, even if it's just to say thank you. I mean, really, he is just the fact that he's standing up for not only his program but our industry right now is
Now,
very
I disagree. He's standing up for America.
for America.
He's standing up for this country. And he understands the industry that he's worked in his entire lifetime is very, very important to this country's future.
Critical. Okay. I think that's all I have.
That's
That's
it.
a lot.
Well, I got one more thing that I'm particularly proud of. Uh, Eric, strong legs, carried Maritza Giorgio around for a long time as a reporter. What's his last name? Come on, tell me.
Gaylord, Eric
Gaylord,
Gaylord.
Eric Gaylord, Montana. This is Montana story. He did a story on the car farmer, which happened to be my son, and won a Craney Award, which is a big deal in Montana, by the way.
It's
It's
a
it's
Montana Broadcast.
kind of like the Cronkite Awards, okay? Only this is a Craney Award. And so
I have one of those.
Eric Strong Legs Gaylord did good, and my kid was a part of him being probably making millions of dollars now as a reporter in Montana.
It was amazing. Eric Gaylord, I talked to him yesterday about it because he was my photographer partner with Scripps for many years when we were national correspondents. And yeah, he came out into that story, and I'm gonna put a link to it in our when I post this because it is so well done. The way that Eric shot that story too of the cars, and I mean it was beautifully done and very cool. If you want to see why John Tester and Sean Tester continue to buy so many cars, this might help you understand it.
And he's got very strong legs because he carried you around for how many years?
Yeah, he did all the heavy lifting on our reporting. I was just there. I just showed up and, put
Oh,
lipstick
good.
on. That's right.
Good. It is.
Um, okay, so let's talk about your hat. This
Yeah,
is
it's
a
the
little
one I've worn.
Oscar hat.
I've wore 20,000 times. It's my going to town hat. It's
You
the
go-
one that I usually grab just as a reflex, you know?
I think you like it because it has an M on it,
I like
and
the M because then people think I'm from Montana or Michigan or Maine or
oh, I thought
Mississippi
it was for Maritza.
oh, well, maybe that's it. That's what the M is for. You're right.
Yeah. Uh, Marla says she thinks Pelley will be on Scott McFarlane's pod first. That could be. Yeah,
Well, there's no doubt about that,
yeah, we'll see. I can't wait to hear your Chuck Todd interview. So since you have a repeat hat, we'll talk about my shirt. Let me see what that says.
Even baddies get saddies.
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean?
Even baddies get like you can be a badass and still be sad. It's okay to be sad sometimes.
Yeah, but don't worry, be happy. I think there was a song with that name, so let's go that route.
You don't worry, be happy. Okay, so we are going to I don't have our final time. We are going to do this interview with Maya Wiley this week, and we will get it out to you folks. We talked a lot about primaries this episode,
And
and
just because I didn't hear you when you said it the first time, Maya Wiley is with the Southern Poverty Law Center. Is that correct?
she's not. She's a civil rights activist, but we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about Southern Poverty Law Center
We're
and
going to
some of
talk
her
about the Voting Rights Act being
yeah,
thrown out, flushed
yeah,
out.
we're gonna talk about all that.
Okay.
Oh shoot, I was saying something and I could
Oh, sorry.
primaries. So I am in touch. We are gonna have someone from the Cook Political Report on to talk about kind of the lay of the land when it comes to
Oh, good,
November.
good, good.
And what how races are shaping up. So that'll be wonderful. We'd love to hear from everyone. Thank you for tuning in with us this early morning for people on in the Mountain Time Zone and West Coast. And we want to thank. We don't have a guest, but thank you, Senator, for taking part of your DC day to come chat with all of us. Thanks to Pearl Jam for letting us use their music. And we got to get a GoFundMe account to get you up to Capitol Hill so you can go start asking those Republican senators where their debt clocks are.
Be great.
I'm going to
Look
send you
forward
with a
to that.
crew.
All
It'll
right.
be hilarious. All right. Bye, guys. Have a good
See you
morning.
later. Tally ho.